Knowing about what is happening in the world around you is crucial to keeping yourself and others safe. It's a scary world out there, but ignorance isn't bliss. This video is about what government and military calls ISR, or Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance. I'll explain how I conduct my own based on what the government does, and at the end tell you how my practices helped me react to a real-world threat that I and my family faced. Hi, I've been a government, industrial, and military planner and manager for more than 20 years. Now I want to share what I've learned over my career with you. No scare tactics here, just smart prepping tips about disaster planning, military tactics, and crisis situations that are easy to use and will help you no matter what your prepping situation is. Intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Now, I was never an intel guy, but I worked closely with them all the time. I was a planner, and you can't make a plan without knowing what you're planning for, and the information they gave me helped focus my work on a more narrow front. Intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance are obviously military terms, but I will try to relate them to prepping specifically and how you can use the ideas behind them to be better prepared. We'll start with surveillance because it is the key thing that you are going to be doing for the most part. In fact, you're probably doing this on a daily basis. Since you're watching this video, you are probably a prepper and already have a strong sense of the importance of situational awareness. You read the news, browse chat forums, listen to podcasts. These are all parts of surveillance. It is the constant, persistent monitoring of information. If a disaster happens, it will be your surveillance efforts that will ensure the earliest possible reaction time. That is why it is absolutely key. The military and government use satellites, electronic eavesdropping, and a ton of other high-tech and expensive methods to stay in constant situational awareness so not to be caught off guard. Unless you're Elon Musk, you don't own a satellite. But with the internet, there are a lot of great ways to keep up your own surveillance that are just as good. You probably already do some of these, but if not, here are a few that I do that you might want to consider. The first is news sites. This is a no-brainer. Just remember to check more than once so you can get a wide range of information. You can also sign up for alerts on your emails or phone so that you don't have to constantly be checking and be active at it. This is an actual government requirement, honestly. Emergency operations centers, fusion cells, command posts all have a requirement to have news channel access, believe it or not. The next thing that you might want to consider is government sites. Less people do this, and it's not quite as good, but there are a lot of government safety and alert sites that have decent information, and some will push information to you if you sign up for these. The disadvantage for these is that the sites are usually slow at updating, and by the time they send out an alert, you probably already know from other methods of surveillance. They could also possibly be filtered by possible political things. And then, obviously, like Department of Homeland Security is not going to warn you if the stock market is crashing. Some ones you might want to consider, though, are ready.gov, the FEMA site, and Department of Homeland Security has the National Terrorism Advisory System. These are good for checking what the government thinks, and it's always important to know what other people are thinking, because then you'll know how they react. What is actually more important is your state or local sites that you might have access to that have relevant information. These are going to be less likely to be political and more likely to give you specific, timely information. So look at state and local, FEMA, emergency management, that kind of things. Next is social media. X.com, Facebook, YouTube, Nextdoor. There might be others. I know that these have as much fake news and AI-generated crap as real information, but you can tailor and filter a lot of that stuff out. I actually love Facebook for local, almost real-time information. I follow a ton of city and county police, sheriffs, fire departments, emergency management offices, and what is especially useful and what I really recommend you do is find local community groups, not the ones advertising for businesses and stuff, but the ones that are just informational. And they are absolutely crucial to get real-time local information from all the busybodies who are watching what's going on and want to post about it. You can gain a lot of situational awareness from these people. A great way to stay up to date with news and information you might not hear at other places is internet forums. Reddit is a big one, but I prefer AR15.com's general discussion forum. It's my own preferred place to stay up to date on the happenings of the world. There are thousands of posts a day from people who are often subject matter experts, absolutely knowledgeable on all subjects, from nuclear power to floods to quantum physics. Someone will post a question and you'll have someone who knows the real answer posting within an hour. Even during my time with the government, I would keep AR15.com open on my government computer because when something happened, I would see it there well before any other news sites. It put me ahead of the information multiple times, and I would brief decision makers on what I would be seeing on AR15.com because people would post pictures and people would be posting things that the government hadn't gotten and confirmed yet. Now, obviously, you have to sift through the crap that anyone's going to post. So that's important. I'll get to that. But looking at just one example, there were topics discussed in December 2019 of a new disease popping up in China. I followed the thread all through the month, and by the beginning of December, with all the people searching through the internet and posting information, I was convinced to start taking some action. I was able to get way ahead of the panic, and my family and the installation I worked for was able to get plenty of N95s, hand sanitizer, and a lot of other supplies that would soon be completely out of stock everywhere in the world because of COVID. Unfortunately, I didn't foresee the whole toilet paper thing and just had to rely on my normal preps for that. But for a head start on information, it was really important in that situation. Also, if you aren't an absolute internet sleuth, the posters often do the work for you by scouring other sites and consolidating everything there, which saves a lot of time and effort. Additionally, they have ongoing discussions on international stories, which are very informative and keeps you updated on many of the things that normally you might not follow. However, just like any other place where people are freely discussing things, there's a lot of politics, fake stories, misinformation, and purposeful disinformation. But if you're able to filter out that stuff, you can find extremely timely, relevant, and quality information. I will say it again, though. If you are not good at filtering out fake news, AI, or any of that other stuff, maybe you should stick to the more mainstream news sites and the government sites than looking through internet forums. Okay, now on a more local or tactical level, some tools that you can look to use are cameras, right? CCTV, IP cameras around your house, or another one is game cameras. Now, when you use these things passively, meaning you don't sit and watch them, which you don't have time to do, I guarantee it. And the military and the government, they don't do that either. You could see cameras all over the place. Nobody's watching those cameras. They feed into a recorder and then they can use them later. So check those recordings to see what happens in the past and what is normally happening in an area. And that is key to surveillance. You can also check in on local police radios using scanners or scanner websites, especially for certain situations that you want to check in on. Whatever you're doing for surveillance to keep up and keep your situational awareness, make sure it's in an amount that you can handle on a daily basis. Surveillance is going to have to be built into your daily routine. So if you make it a chore or difficult, you're going to end up not doing it. There are a lot of ways that you can schedule or sign up for alerts if you're not good at, like everyone else in the world, and keeping your phone in front of your face. But make sure it's not an overwhelming amount of effort. Next, we're going to talk about reconnaissance. So if surveillance is a constant and wide-ranging, reconnaissance is the opposite. It is very specific and singular. You do recon when you want to find out something exact about something. This isn't something that you're going to do a lot of, and it usually takes up some resources, time or effort far above surveillance. It's also often done after surveillance keys you in on something. So, and because of this, reconnaissance is often more local to you. Doing recon also comes with greater risks than surveillance as well, which I will discuss. But here are some recon methods that are possible for the average prepper. The first off is in person. If you want to know what's going on, just drive or walk over and find out. Simple, and it takes only some time. You can do it overtly or covertly, depending on what you want to accomplish and the risks you perceive there. The easiest is the simple drive-by, but depending on the situation, you might find yourself gearing up to head out into the woods to watch a location with binos or night vision goggles. Again, it all depends on what your threshold for risk and reward are. A specific in-person recon may be useful to you is the route reconnaissance. So if things are getting dicey in your AO and you are worried about having to bug out, you might consider a route reconnaissance along your likely path to your bug out location. You don't want to find the road blocked when you have all your family gear and are slow and vulnerable. Drive the route first to determine if there are any threats along the way while you are quick and able to get away fast if necessary. There are risks, of course, like leaving your home is always a risk. You may not know the situation and it could be more dangerous than you think. You are also showing interest in something which might be telegraphing future actions to any potential bad guys. A route recon might tip off someone that you could be coming back that way later and an ambush could be set up. So here's the big one. Drones. Yes, there are a lot of laws, regulations, morality issues possibly to drone use, but I'm not going to get into them there. You're going to have to figure that out on yourself. There's plenty of places to find out how to use a drone. But as a recon tool, they are incredible and priceless. They reduce a lot of the risks associated with normal in-person recons and can sometimes give even better information because of their viewpoint. I have used them multiple times around myself and my property. For example, one evening, I heard multiple sirens at an adjacent property to me. It was no big deal to put a drone up in the sky and check out if there was a potential threat. Maybe there was a shooter or a fight going on. I didn't know. I was able to gather valuable information while staying incognito, and also I was able to protect my own home. I also use a drone in my property defense planning. Now, I'm going to get into this in a later video, but it's just another great use for a drone. They can also be included in your route recon. Flying the drone a few hundred yards ahead of your lead car can give you situational awareness that will possibly prevent ambushes and save lives. Now, there are obviously downsides with drones, cost, possible legalities, ticked off neighbors, but as a recon tool, they're going to be impossible to beat. So ISR, the first is intelligence. That's the I. And everyone talks about intelligence, but literally it's just a label to define specific information. So information collected from reconnaissance and surveillance, if you organize that into a way that you can use for planning or decision making, that's intelligence. When I was flying my drone over the neighbors to see what was going on, the entire video wasn't necessarily intelligence. After I observed everything and told my wife that it looked like just somebody got hurt and everyone was calm there, that was the intelligence. We used the information to make a decision, and our decision that night was to keep drinking beer on the porch. How do you use all these different things realistically? Well, here's an example of what happened to me one day that kind of throws all of them together and helped me make decisions to help protect my family. I was planning a trip to see a friend at the hospital. My mother had come over to watch my children while I was away, and she brought some nieces and nephews that she was watching to play outside. As I was about to leave, I was scrolling through Facebook, and I saw on a local Facebook group someone post a warning about a possible police search for a dangerous and deranged individual. When I saw where they had the location, it seemed to me near to me, but the poster used a road name that I wasn't familiar with. It wasn't really the common name I knew the road by, so I wasn't 100% sure. So this was good surveillance. I didn't feel comfortable, obviously, leaving my mother there with 5 children without some more information. So I decided to do a quick recon. Since the street was less than a few hundred yards away, I jumped in the car and drove to the location. I was met by a state policeman in full tactical gear and an AR. Behind him, I saw many more policemen at what looked like a command post being set up. I drove up to him and asked if they were looking for someone, because that's what it seemed like. He gave me a few key pieces of information, which helped my decision making. So first, the person that they were looking for was an emotionally distraught, and he was armed with a crossbow. He had fled into some woods in that area, and they were waiting for a canine unit and a helicopter with infrared camera on it. So my recon was extremely successful. By talking to the police officer and going out of my way, I now had valuable intelligence to make a decision. I had been alerted by my surveillance to a possible threat. I conducted a reconnaissance to confirm it and determine the level of threat. Then with those key pieces of information, I made a decision. I was going to go back to my house, not go on my trip to the hospital. Now I got everyone inside, secured the house, started more intensive local surveillance. I watched my cameras around the house, turned on a local police scanner to listen, kept checking on the Facebook feed that had first alerted me, and even checked a flight tracking website and watched the helicopter approach. After a while, the helicopter left, and some people on Facebook started to claim there was nothing left going on. But I wanted to confirm this before I left my mother alone again. So I went outside, used my drone, put it up, and checked the area where the police had been, and it was completely calm. They had all left. So I was finally able to go visit my friend. With all these sources of information, I was able to make accurate, timely decisions that directly protected my family. I felt in control and confident that my family was safe, and as preppers, that is the best case scenario for us. Information is absolutely vital to any decision making. In a disaster, resources become immediately more valuable, and the most valuable is time. Getting the right information as quickly as possible and acting on it will save your life. Set up a surveillance routine and have some recon ability. Thanks for watching this video. If you found anything included useful or helpful, please subscribe and like the video. It helps YouTube send me information so that I know that people are actually watching and that I will continue to make more videos. So have a great day and keep prepping and planning.